Okay, for the last one, 24, you're given line 1 and line 2. Now here's what the instructions say. It says find the slopes of line 1 and line 2. So we're going to do that first. Then it says determine whether they are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, now the test I'm probably just going to ask you just to find the slopes of each, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about parallel and perpendicular too, because it is something that you're eventually going to do on the next test. But let me first just talk about it after I find the slopes. So this section, you want to know the slope formula. Okay, so the slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the formula that you're going to use for each one of these. Now each one of these points, you want to label it x1 and y1. You're going to plug the numbers into the formula, and then you'll get the slope for each one. Now it doesn't matter if you do x1 and y1 for the first one or if you do x1 and y1 for the second one. It makes no difference. For each of these, I'm just going to let the first point be x1 and y1, and the second point is going to be x2, y2. Notice that I'm not doing x1, y2. They both have to be 1s and both have to be 2s. So now that I have those labeled, let's find the slope of line 1 and line 2. So line 1, we're going to use the formula. So I have, let's do the slope for this one, y2, which is 3, minus 4, so y2 minus y1, just plug the numbers into the formula. Then I have 0 minus 4 on the bottom. Okay, so when I simplify this, 3 minus 4 is negative 1, and on the bottom I get negative 4, negatives cancel, and I get positive 1/4. So on the first line where it says the slope there, I'm going to put 1/4 as one of the answers. But now, let me go ahead and find the slope for line 2. I'm using the same formula. I have x1, y1, x2, y2, same labeling on that one. Let's plug it into the formula. y2 minus y1, so I have y2 negative 1 minus y1, which is going to be 7. On the bottom, I have x2 minus x1, so I have negative 1 minus 1. Okay, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So it's all, make sure you subtract them in the same order when you do those. Alright, now this is going to give you negative 1 minus negative 7, that's negative 8. On the bottom you get negative 2, negatives cancel, and I get positive 4. Okay, so that's the slope. Line 1, the slope is 1/4. For line 2, it's going to be 4. So that's what you'd put on the first line. You just put 1/4 comma 4. Now, the second part of the question is something that you're probably going to see in the next test, so I'm not going to include it on this first one, but let me go ahead and explain that. If the lines are parallel, that means the slopes are exactly the same. So they're not. If they're perpendicular, that means they're opposite reciprocal slopes. What I mean by that is one slope is positive, one slope is negative, and then one's a reciprocal of the other, so it's kind of a flip. Well, we do have a reciprocal going on here because this would be 4 over 1 and this would be 1/4, but you notice that we don't have opposite signs. So in this case you would put neither. It's not parallel, it's not perpendicular, it's neither of those. But again, in the test, most likely I'm just going to end up having you just find the slopes of each one, so you're just going to be responsible for that, because technically parallel and perpendicular, that comes in the section that you'll do immediately after the midterm. So just focus mostly on how to find slopes if you're given 2 points.